we are going to give Hamas just one more chance to disarm. I mean, they had several. We tried to force them many times, or we asked them nicely to disarm as a terms of the ceasefire agreement. But this time for sure, this time definitely. Last 60 days, and if not, then we'll go in. Um, this might not sound unique. It's something we have been hearing from well, over a year. I mean, pretty much since, I mean, we could even go to some extent even to Biden's presidency, but specifically when Trump came into power, that already came in with the threat of if not all hostages are back, then it's over. All hell will break loose, and then now we have the hostages home. Now we should be talking about disarmament, but we are still kind of not. I mean, the ceasefire started months ago at this point, and still no disarmament. But now we have another chance. Maybe this time it will happen. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Daniel, and I'll take you through today on sort of few reports that we have been seeing about another disarmament and what it means, if it really can happen. And I think fundamentally what the leaders that are dealing with this, and I mean specifically the Israeli leadership and American leadership, or generally the Board of Peace, the Peace Conference, the Peace Council, and all that. So let's take a look. So how do we know this? So there has been a report from somebody close to Netanyahu, from Netanyahu's circles, that yeah, 60 days is the number of days that or the day period that Hamas has to disarm. We'll talk about what specifically disarming means, but it has to disarm. Otherwise, Israel is fully going back into Gaza, meaning the sort of 50% of the territory that has been ceded to Hamas under the last ceasefire. This number, 60 day, apparently comes from Trump's administration. The Israeli administration has been asked for this by Trump administration. They asked for a 60-day period, and quote, "We are respecting that." So that's where the number is from. The question is when the number starts, and we don't know. Apparently, there is no set start date for this 60-day ultimatum to speak of, but most people are assuming, or it is assumed, that this would start when the next Peace Council meets, when it convenes, which should be tomorrow, Tuesday, I believe, unless something has changed, because the date has been moving around. But it should be, yeah, it should be Tuesday. So 60 days from Tuesday, meaning sort of, yeah, mid-April is the time Hamas has to disarm. Otherwise, Israel will go fully back in. There is something else that will be happening at the conference, and we'll talk about that. But first, let's discuss this specific date, this specific amount of time, and what it actually means. So first, why are we still waiting? I mean, Hamas clearly has no like has no desirability to disarm. They'll try to use anything they can to fight back. And even if they commit to some disarmament, and again, there is a question of what exactly it means, because even when we talk about disarmament, there was a New York Times report that even disarmament would just include sort of like heavy weapons. So things like AK-47s would still be in the held or in the hands of Hamas, which again, that's not disarmament. I think even if we were going for some kind of disarmament, it would have to include all arms, and it would have to include like no participation of Hamas in any role of administering Gaza. But that's not something Hamas can accept, and that's not something I think Palestinians will accept. I don't think Palestinians will accept sort of half imposed foreign governance. Now, if we didn't care about their acceptance, there would be one thing. But we are still trying to approach it as this is what's good for Palestinians, and that's simply, I mean, that's simply wrong. Like, or rather, not what's good for Palestinians, but what Palestinians would like. Palestinians don't want peace. They don't want Hamas disarmament. They don't want this war to end, really. I mean, if we go into the statistics or the polls of what Palestinians want, well, majority of Palestinians still believe October 7 was the right decision. And that's all Palestinians. If you go to Gazan Palestinians, still 44% of them think it was the right decision, and the rest, 54%, there were a few undecided. So the rest, 54%, that think it wasn't the right decision. We don't know why they don't think it was the right decision. Maybe they just wanted to see it go much better, and it didn't go as well as they hoped for. So, yeah, when it comes to this disarmament, or this prolonging, like another 60 days, I mean, Hamas, like, just I think just today or just yesterday, six more Palestinian terrorists were eliminated in the tunnels. So Hamas is still making moves, and IDF is still on the ground. IDF every single day is risking their lives. Every single day there could be another soldier that dies. Every single day there could be, some disaster happening, something terrible to happen. We shouldn't risk a life of a single soldier to protect. I mean, let alone to protect Hamas, but even to protect Palestinians. I mean, that this was their desire, this was their goal, to start this war, to eliminate the state of Israel, yeah, to completely destroy the state of Israel. Like, anybody who's saying that the only thing Palestinians want is like one state with full rights, to end the apartheid or to end the genocide or whatever people are trying to claim. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the idea that what Palestinians want is this like a liberal democratic state. Like, the only reason why Gaza and Palestinian Authority are dictatorships that they are, the only reason for that is Israel. If not for Israel, Palestinians, or the Palestinian state or the Arab state, in so-called Palestine, would be this like a liberal democratic Western state, um, as of course we have example of so many other Arab states in the region that are these beacons of democracy. But even then, Palestinians are a little bit different in that way, that I think they are more violent. They want, not by, their race or something, by their ideology. Uh, they support Hamas because they support violence. They want to, they have no desire for peace. They have no desire for a liberal state. They have no desire for even a democratic state. I mean, there are no calls for election, right? The Mahmoud Abbas is super unpopular, like incredibly unpopular. Like, you couldn't find more unpopular leader probably. Uh, Yet somehow he's still in power. Somehow nobody really calls for his removal, or maybe they call for his removal, but nobody is really doing something about his removal. Um, so yeah, I mean, how many more do we have to risk for something to happen? And there is a so yeah, and I said there is a question about what they're really even giving up. I mean, even Prime Minister Netanyahu has talked about this, that disarmament means Hamas must give up its weapons. That's a quote. Quote, must give up its weapons, not just its main weapons. Uh, Quote, the one that does the most damage is called an AK-47. End of quote. And he also said that's what they used in the massacre of October 7. And he also said that the group is still holding on to some 60,000 rifles in Gaza. So we still have to deal with that. Like, Hamas still has weapons. Hamas has eliminated a lot of its opposition in the areas they held on to. And I don't think you can simply do it by asking them nicely, by wishing, like, wouldn't it be nice if Hamas didn't have weapons? Like, this has been our policy on Palestinians for a long time. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we gave them a state and they stopped trying to kill Jews? Wouldn't it be nice if we, gave up Gaza, gave it to the Palestinians, and then they would stop killing Israelis. Wouldn't it be nice if I mean, so many things. If we had a ceasefire and this all would happen, wouldn't it be nice? I mean, for people who watched the first peace conference, the first meeting of the board of peace, where Jared Kushner was giving a presentation, and he had that nice picture of Gaza with like designated spots for industrial and urban, and where people go to restaurants, and where there are parks, and when there is an airport, and when there is a port. I mean, such a wouldn't it be nice if that's how it worked? Uh, and it's terrible. I mean, this has it's a it's wishful thinking. It's not actually looking at what's on the ground. We have a super chat from Ginger. Thank you so much. I'll just quickly mention it because somebody brought it up. Didn't Bibi fund Hamas? Again, no. He simply allowed the money from Qatar to enter into Gaza for Palestinians. I think still a wrong decision, but definitely not what people are trying to imply with that. I think it was a wrong decision because uh, you don't allow money to go to your enemies, even enemy civilian population. Although at the time there wasn't a full-on war. Um, but even then, if he didn't do that, if he didn't allow that, I mean, the same people would be saying, "Oh, look, the blockade by Netanyahu, right? He's not allowing anything to go in." So the person who brought it up, like, you don't actually care. You're just trying to make some weird point, but you're only trying to criticize the Israeli side, no matter what they do. You would criticize the opposite decision as well. Uh, So we have a question also in the chat from Ginger. Um, what I wanted to ask was, do you think Israel would philosophically be able to go in right now? Would Bibi have the nerve if freed from Trump's idiocies? No, I don't think so. I don't think, yeah, I don't think Netanyahu. I mean, I think philosophically Netanyahu could justify it. I think he has the understanding of war. He has the understanding of the Palestinian people. I think he absolutely. I don't think it's a lack of understanding of what's going on. I think Netanyahu is. Yeah, he he doesn't think he can do it, or he doesn't want to even find out. Because even, I mean, when Trump came into office, like recently, like last year, Netanyahu probably, I think, had a few moments where he could pretty much do whatever he wants in Gaza. And he didn't go for it. He didn't take it, mm, unless there was really some pushing behind the scenes. Because Netanyahu was pushing hard against Biden administration. He was able to do, I mean, take the pager attack, going into Rafah, um, actions against Iran in Syria. A lot of those were not. Netanyahu wasn't concerned with what Biden would do. So Netanyahu definitely, if he thinks it needs to happen, he will definitely do. He will definitely go for it, even if he doesn't have the full support of Americans, or he doesn't tell Americans what he's going to do. So, Bonnie says, Christian Zoo for Gazans, all planned, all paid, and demanding nothing from the inmates, and no individuals' rights allowed or protected. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, for whoever saw that picture, that was like a central planner dream. Like, don't care about anything on the ground, don't care about ideology of people on the ground. Just build nice squares and shapes of designated zones where will tell you what you can do and you cannot do anything else. But yeah, it was like a wishful thinking. Um, okay, something else I wanted to mention about what else is going to happen at the conference. Well, at the upcoming conference by the Board of Peace, fundraising. That's going to be one of the main points. We're going to be fundraise for Palestinians. We're going to be fundraising for the building up of Gaza. Uh, it looks like they won't even necessarily wait. Oh, so yeah, it is. Here I have a note that it's February 19th, so that will be Thursday. Thursday would be the day where the fundraising conference is happening. Um, and and yeah, it's hoping to announce several billions of dollars from countries around the world for this act, for this fundraise, for this goal of building up Gaza. A U.S. official told Times of Israel. So again, right? It would be one thing if we were building up Gaza after Palestinians were defeated, and we want them to get on board with us quicker. So we build it up somewhat. We want them to get engaged in political life as well, which I don't think is always works. I think it has to be done properly. There's actually a book I want to read about it, or specifically how Japan was built up. Because when it comes to World War II rebuilding, the big part of it was our desire to have Germany and Japan stand up to the Soviet Union, to not be taken over by the communists in West Germany and Japan, which had a communist population, or people who could switch to communism, and that would be undesirable. But when it comes to Gaza, there is not necessarily a reason to build them up as a defense against somebody else. I mean, something like that could be said of like the Golan Heights, or possibly even Judea and Samaria, but I don't see the same kind of thing about Gaza. But even that's besides the point, because fundamentally, Palestinians were not defeated. They still believe that October 7 was the right decision. The cause of war wasn't eliminated. The cause of war was Palestinian ideology. It wasn't, it wasn't, like October 7th wasn't the cause of war. I mean, it was like a justification. I think there's like a specific word for it. Somebody can remind me. Like that was, I guess, like the casus belli, you could say, from the Israeli side. Like that was like the means to war, right? Like this happened, and now we need to do it. Similar to when it comes to World War One, the killing of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, I think. That was like the cause of war. Like that's why it happened. But when it comes to ideology, both Austria wanted to crush Serbia for a long time. Germany wanted to go to war with France and Russia for a long time. So something was bound to happen because there was a desire. So Palestinians want to go with war with Israelis. And of course, Hamas committing October 7 was a great excuse to do so for all of Palestinians, not just Hamas, for all of Palestinians to join. That's why all of them celebrated, or many of them at the very least, celebrated October 7. Palestinians around the world celebrated October 7 because they wanted to go after Israel. They wanted to destroy the state of Israel. Somebody says Japan admitted defeat. Islamism refuses to admit defeat. I mean, it's not even specifically Islamism. I think it's specifically Palestinianism. I don't know how big of a role Islam actually plays when it comes to when it comes to Palestinians. I think there is something unique about their hatred for Israel and their hatred for Jews that I think is on top of Islamism. It might be built upon it, but I think there's still something on top. Somebody says ideology can be defeated by war, but if the means are defeated, the ideology may dissolve over time. Ideology absolutely can be defeated in war, and that's the only war you have to do. I think this was said by, I think, the IDF speaker, and somebody can remind me his name. I think his first name is Daniel as well, but somebody can remind me of his last name. This was said in, I think, back in 2024, if I remember correctly. Like, Hamas is not an ideology. It can't be defeated. And it's exactly the wrong way to go about it. because you are Daniel Hangari, thank you so much. Because you are um, absolutely missing the point of what is happening. Of course, ideology drives the war. Ideology is the only thing that's driving the war. It's always behind it, because if you do not desire war, if your ideology doesn't demand war, there's always like a sensible way to go about it, right? There's always civil means of solving this conflict. But once you desire war, like I still, and I'm trying to see how I could explain it. This people think as like war is just another example of like human interaction. War is something so unique and so outside of acceptable human interaction that it has to be, you cannot treat it as like a desire like everything else. Like this person wants a soda. This person wants a stable job, and this person wants to go into a conflict, into war with both of those people. That's not the same kind of desire. It's not a desire that should be treated as rational, as reasonable, as anything that can be dealt with by some deal, by some ceasefire, by some some agreement between the two parties. There is a desire that has to be completely crushed, and that's the only way. That's the only means that can be used against that. Anything else, and you are giving in to the premise that war is an acceptable means of interacting with people. We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. Trying to look through the chat if there is anything else interesting. So, yeah, I think wrapping up, I would say, I would say that that is the one fundamental fact that either the sides, and I mean America and Israel, are either missing or are fundamentally evading the fact that this is not a war against Gaza. This is not a war against like militant Hamas, or sort of a war against Hamas, or some just the military wing of Hamas or anything similar. This has been a war against Palestinian people that has to be defeated completely and not allowed to foster in any way, not allowed to survive in any way, no matter what it takes. I mean, if somebody if somebody runs at you with a knife and you pull out a gun and they don't stop and they keep running, he didn't really give you a choice on what to do. You have to, if you honor your own life, if you think your life is more important than a life over somebody who is willing to kill you over whatever, the reasoning doesn't even matter. There is no way to dealing with those people. If Palestinians at large are those people who run at you with a knife, they want to kill you, and um, and they don't give you a choice. The only thing you can do is pull out the gun. And if they decide to keep running, you need to shoot them dead. That's the only way of dealing with people who want to deal by force. You are giving them what they want, right? They believe human interaction involves force, so you bring force back into them in that human interaction. Just quickly, somebody is saying you stole their homes. Which again, it's like Palestinians don't even have the concept of property rights, so I don't know how you steal from somebody who doesn't believe in property rights. And even then, why are Palestinians like so unique in that so many people were had things stolen from them, right? Especially like a lot of people who did bad things had land stolen from them. The Germans in Czechoslovakia, or Germans in Poland, or the Japanese in Korea, or the Japanese in different parts of China, or different parts of Asia, for that matter, right? They had their land stolen, or well, it's hard to even talk about like stolen because they stole it first, technically, right? But even those, because there were Germans living in Czechoslovakia for centuries, right? So they didn't. There was their property, but they decided to go to a war with the population, and because of that, their land was seized because they gave up the idea of property rights. Once you go into war with somebody, you no longer have ownership over anything you ever had. Palestinians decided, or rather the Arab states, the Arabs in the region decided to go war with Israel when it was founded. Their property claims to anything has been seized. That's it. You no longer have any claims to property rights. All the land that you've lost, um, that's your fault. And if you decide to go, like, can I bring up an example? Like in this in the civil context or in the context of like actual crime, right? If you um decide to try to kill me or something where there is like a financial compensation. If you decide to like steal money from me, right? And you get caught and you get convicted. Well, money will be taken away from your account, maybe even on top of the money you stole, because you try to deal with people in that way. That's you no longer have any claim to that property. It will be seized and it will be given to me because of what you did. And if you then decide to, once you get out of prison or once you pay your pay up what you owe to me because you committed crime against me, if you then use that as a justification to go and try to kill me, well, I will defend myself and I will be in the right because that is no longer your property. If there are Palestinians who go and try to kill Jews because supposedly some of their houses or some land was stolen from them, that's still wrong on their part. You have no longer any claim to that. You've completely, um, I mean, you've defaulted on any idea of property rights. They didn't recognize the property rights of Jews. What about the property rights of Jews in the region? What about the property rights of Israelis in the region? I mean, for that matter, what about the property rights of the people in their own country? They don't care for any of them. So why is there like why are you acting as if Palestinians have this desire to simply recover property? Like, will that go even to the same people? Let's say Hamas takes over Israel. Will Hamas go through the records and see, okay, this building belongs to this one family, and this building goes to this family? Nate says forfeited. Yeah, that's a good word I was looking for. Like, will they do that? Will they try to repatriate? I think would kind of be the word. Like all the property to the people it belongs, or will it be political? Will probably the people who, I mean, I don't know if I saved the name. Um, is it? I just Abu Shabab, right? The what about Abu Shabab? They are one of the families inside of Gaza, and that stood up to Hamas. Let's say Palestinians take over Israel. Will their family get their property back? Supposedly, that's supposed to belong to them, or will all of it be seized because they stood up to Hamas? That's a question from the person in the chat who brings it up. Like, are we really thinking that this is all like a property rights dispute, like individual rights dispute? This is what we think when we talk about Hamas. Like they care about property rights. They care about like justice, like giving people what they are owed. I mean, I'm not even gonna give you answer. I mean, ask yourself that question and ask yourself what really makes more sense to you. Well, with that, I think as I've said, I think we mostly covered today's topic. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you everybody for watching. And we have Atlas Shrugged Book Club coming up in hour and a half. So that's for YouTube members. If you're a YouTube member, you can join that. There should be a scheduled episode. And if you're a website member, you should have received an email. You can still become a member and you can still join this. So um, make sure to do so if you'll be interested. And otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow with another episodes of our shows. Until then, thank you and bye bye.